Hello, and welcome to the Megan Taylor Creative Podcast, a show for entrepreneurs looking to grow their business with digital marketing. In this episode, I'll be sharing with you my top tips on how to create a successful SEO content strategy. Let's get started. So, in this episode of the Megan Taylor Creative Podcast, I just wanted to sit down and talk about how to create a successful SEO content strategy so that you can start laying the groundwork, putting down the breadcrumbs, if you will, to ensure that your content marketing efforts are particularly lucrative. Because if you're going to be using your website, or even if you're going to be, saying, creating video content for YouTube, then you need to have a solid SEO content strategy in place. So for me, I have a very kind of strong SEO background, not necessarily for things like technical SEO, although I have had some experience with that. But generally speaking, when it comes to things like off-page SEO and link building and things like that, but also on-page SEO and actual SEO content writing, I have quite a lot of experience delivering solid SEO content that has been proven to get high rankings, and not only get high rankings, but improve things like the amount of time that people spend on the website. So a reduction in bounce rate, just general engagement and things like that. So I really wanted to share with you how I would approach creating a content strategy with SEO in mind in 2023. And I'll be sharing with you as well, as always, kind of my approach to it for my own business this year to hopefully give you some good ideas. So as always, this is going to be quite a rambly episode. So let's just get straight into it. Before we can actually start creating a successful SEO content strategy, we need to understand the different elements of SEO. Most marketers, including myself, like to think about SEO in the context of three pillars, and this is very general. SEO is something that's changing all the time as Google and other search engines advance and machine learning gets smarter and things like that. So the algorithms start to kind of introduce more ranking signals and things like that that we all need to be aware of. But generally speaking, it's agreed amongst most people in the marketing industry that there are three pillars of SEO, and those are technical, off-page, and on-page. Technical SEO, as I mentioned previously, is not something I have a lot of experience with. It's something I'm aware of and I'm always trying to think about in my own website, but it's not something that I would necessarily be doing with my clients on a day-to-day basis, because we focus more on content and actual on-page content and things like that. So just to kind of give you a background of my experience, but technical SEO essentially focuses on the technical elements of your website that makes your website user-friendly and appealing to users. So examples include SSL and the overall security of your website, making sure that your website isn't vulnerable to any malware or viruses which could be detrimental to your users' security, site speed, structured data markups, and things like that. Off-page SEO refers to any activity that happens away from your website that improve your rankings. These are things like your activity on social media and backlinks. This is why backlinking is so important, because the more backlinks you have, essentially, the more Google will recognize your website as a trusted source of information. And it's the same with things like YouTube, for example. I actually do think that people that use YouTube really do have a big advantage, because it's another source that Google can use to determine whether or not they are an authority and whether their content is actually useful or relevant to search terms that they are trying to rank for. Search engines can just review data and look at how many mentions the channel has, how many subscribers the channel has, and things like that. And on a micro scale, so when it comes to actual individual videos, that's also important too. What's the click-through rate? How long are people spending watching watching the video. All of this is really useful information, and that can be really powerful to someone growing their channel over there. But if you have a strong YouTube channel, Google will also take this into consideration when it's figuring out whether to rank a piece of content for a certain phrase based on that person's YouTube channel. And then finally, we have on-page SEO, which is the area that I am most comfortable with. It's essentially all the on-page optimization that you do to ensure that your piece of content, whether that be a landing page or an article, or for example in paid search as well, obviously you need to optimize your ad campaigns if you want to make sure that they're going to be shown in paid search results and things like that, depending on the type of campaign that you're running. So this will include things like keyword density, alt text and images, and meta descriptions that are shown in search results. So now that we actually understand the 3 pillars of SEO and what they mean and how they kind of all work to helping you improve your search rankings and organic visibility within search engines, let's take a look at how to actually create a SEO content strategy. And the first step, I kind of combine these together personally in my own process, so I'll just talk about them together. But the first step is to choose your core topics, your subtopics, and along with that, you want to choose your targeted keywords. So I recently did a blog post on SEO topic clusters, and this is something that I'm very familiar with. I've been mapping out topic clusters and just generally building people's core topics for well over 5 years now, and there's so many useful tools that you can use. I actually really like, in this instance, I really like HubSpot because it has like a really useful content map where you can say, for example, if you have 3 different pillars, which is what I normally recommend, then you can take a look at that from a holistic perspective in a visual way. So they'll have like your core topics as the center of the map, and then each subsequent topic will grow. And then over time, what you can actually do is you can attach different pieces of content. You can attach different pieces of content to each topic and subtopic to help you figure out how comprehensive your existing content is for covering your chosen topics. And a way to kind of help you choose these topics is through keyword research. That was something that I recommended in the blog post about SEO content, SEO topic clusters. It's really useful to do keyword research because it will help you understand the opportunities surrounding a topic. Obviously, you want to be cognizant of what your audience wants and whether the content is going to be interesting for them. But at the end of the day, if you're investing so much time in writing SEO content, really well thought out SEO content, then you're going to want to make sure that there's some level of opportunity there as well and some value for you in creating all of that content. So, for example, say if you're quite a new website and you're choosing general, quite broad topics, but there's a lot of competition around them and it's going to be very difficult for you to rank for, then that's going to be kind of a lost opportunity because you're going to end up creating content that's not going to get you success. So you need to be very careful of the topics and ensuring that there's enough good keywords that you can use to make sure that you can actually get the traffic that you're after. And it's also important to think about things like LSI keywords too. So normally my approach, especially when working with smaller businesses, if they have like a really low domain rating, I will generally tell them to focus on long tail, low competition keywords. And that requires being very creative when it comes to doing your keyword research, really getting into the minds of your buyer, really thinking about the nitty gritty questions that they're asking and being very specific with your phrasing as well. Because although search engines are pretty smart when it comes to actually comprehending what keywords it actually is you're ranking for, so you don't always need to have a keyword be the exact phrase, it is a good idea to be specific because you could be missing out if you're not. But LSI keywords, they're words automatically related to a topic that Google and other search engines recognized. And they're typically short phrases, but this is an example of where it's good to be specific and very cognizant of the wording that you're choosing when you're explaining a topic, because obviously words can have 2 meanings, but luckily, the complex algorithms are getting to the point where they can start to identify the real meaning of the word, even if that word has two different meanings. And this is where, again, things like word count actually come in handy, because if you're focusing on a topic that could potentially get confused by any search engines due to the fact that they have two meanings or more than two meanings, then you're going to want to make sure that the content is really in depth and actually really uses that keyword a lot to ensure that the search engine actually picks up what you're talking about. And it's not necessarily something that I would put as like a main priority or something to focus on when I'm thinking about keywords that I want to target for, but it is definitely something that you should be aware of, and it will also help you kind of generate topics as well. Just, short phrases that are words associated with your industry that you can throw in with the more long tail targeted keywords that you're looking for. Now that you've chosen your keywords and your core topics, it's time to actually start creating content pillar pages around your main topics. And content pillar pages are essentially cornerstone pages for a central topic that you want to rank for. And I recommend doing this straight away. The pages don't always have to be filled out and really in depth, but you'll want to grow them over time so that Google can see that you are adding to your content and providing new content to your readers that is in depth and authoritative. So that's something that I would really prioritize in the very beginning of your SEO marketing efforts. And the other aspect of content pillars is link building, and I think a lot of the time people forget to actually do internal linking, because internal links are actually an important ranking factor as well. It's not just about backlinks, although backlinks are incredibly valuable, especially if it's from a high authority website. But say, for example, if your website, you build it up to a place where it has real good authority and Google recognizes that, the more links you build, the more Google will recommend the content around the site, and also the more it'll be able to understand your content. And not only will it be useful for search engines to start indexing your articles properly, but it'll be useful for your users as well, because as we all know, user experience is a particularly important ranking factor. With so many intuitive websites out there, it's really important for us to provide our users with a quality experience where they can easily move around the website and find the information that they want. And a good internal linking strategy made possible by solid pillar pages is a really good way to ensure that the user is able to find the content that they want to find. And again, generally, it will be great for reaching that topical authority status, which anytime you publish new content will just get you ranked higher, because Google knows that you already provide good content and it doesn't have to go through the digging and the reviewing of content when you're a completely new site. And again, when you're linking, just make sure that you're focusing on value-based linking, as I like to kind of think about it. But this is aligned with Google's EAT methodology, and I'll be doing a blog post on this at some point, so I won't go into it too much here. But essentially, this is what Google uses to determine whether the creator of the content has actually thought out whether the content that they are linking to will be relevant and whether it's actually trusted information. So it's important to think about that too. My final step to creating a good SEO content strategy, although this is by no means a one and done situation, and also there are obviously other things that you're going to want to think about, but as we're focusing more on content and SEO here, the next thing that I really wanted to speak about was developing an engagement strategy for social media. And ensuring that you grow your audience over time will be a really solid signal to search engines, the more you publish content, that your content is trusted. And the way to do this is to get things like mentions and to increase the likes of and retweets of each post. It shows Google that people are connecting with your content, people are engaging with your content, and that they actually enjoy your content, but also it makes them want to stay on the platform more, because obviously these platforms all want you to stay on their platform. It's why it's so hard to get people to click on external links, because I do kind of feel like a lot of the more promotional posts just generally don't get as good engagement as more authentic organic content. because the social media sites, for example, they don't like the fact that you're taking people away from their site, and they can obviously read when you have an external link. It's why I think, for example, Instagram, when you use external links directly in a caption, it looks really bad and it's really off-putting to the user. So you have to do things like, link in bio, or just use stories and things like that, where your more engaged audience lives, to promote the fact that you've got a place outside of the platform to share with your audience. So, for example, for me, I do get some mentions on social media, and that comes in large part to spending a lot of time on it during the workday and making sure that I actually do take regular breaks to dedicate to just engagement. And I try and do it in the most authentic way possible. I think that's, again, another thing people forget. You want to make sure that what you're doing is authentic, because people can see when it's not. I think that sometimes people do misuse the fact that we can engage on social media platforms to promote our businesses. And I think that there's a time and a place to promote yourself, but I'm not sure necessarily it should be in, say, for example, someone else's promotional post, unless you've genuinely got something that you think can help and you've been helping that person's user base for a longer period of time. So that's my opinion on it, but you really should be focusing on this early on. And again, the way to do this is to share content on social media that's engaging and relatable. Relatable content on social media wins every time, and it's why Reels do so well, because it shows people, I think, being a little bit silly and being, them true selves. It's weird to see Reels where people are being really stoic and just not very, I guess, not very natural. It's really off-putting. So that kind of content will really help to get people to engage with you, but you also need to remember to provide them with some kind of value, whether that be through entertainment or education, just to ensure that they're going to take something away from that content and they're going to be more likely to come back to you because you provided them with something. So yeah, that's it. That's everything that I have for you today. I really hope that you found this useful. It was a very kind of beginner's guide to SEO. I hope that I can do more in-depth articles about SEO and SEO content strategies in the future, but for now, this is a really good place to start. And if you're in the middle of planning your SEO content strategy, I hope that it maybe gave you a few tips and some structure around your planning process. If you do need help with the planning process, Megan Taylor Creative does offer content strategies that always focus on SEO as standard, even if the client hasn't necessarily asked for it. We always consider it to make sure that their content. As always, if you liked this episode, please like the video on YouTube, as that really helps us out. And as always, I will speak to you next week. Thank you for listening. Bye.